Welcome to today's episode in which I try and create some crispy dumplings that I saw on Instagram. A video popped up on my Instagram feed a few days ago where a guy makes some little crispy dumplings using rice paper. So these are what's usually used on summer rolls. It's kind of like a stretchy rice sort of paper, I guess, or wrapping. So it's the kind of see-through ones. So I used these and I thought, well, I'm going to give that a try, but I'm going to do mine in the oven because I'm just not a fan of frying, especially deep frying. It still freaks me out. So I'm going to try and bake them and see what happens. The first thing going into mine is going to be some carrots. So I'm just going to peel the outside. I'm going to use my mandolin for this one, just because it's going to be nice and easy. Just be very careful with your fingers on these because, yeah, they do hurt. I want it on quite a fine slice. So this has got a little knob on the back with a little post that pokes up. Do that straight into the bowl. Leave the end on your carrot, just makes a nice little handle for you. Otherwise it gets a bit perilous. Got lots of lovely, nice thin slices, kind of 1/2 mil thick. I'll do the same with 2 sticks of celery. If you get strings like that, you can just peel them back. I'm going to do 5 little radishes as well. Give them a wash and then just nip out the tail end, slide that on. I'm going to do 4 spring onions, scallions, whatever you like calling them. So I'm just going to take off the outer leaf that's kind of a bit tougher, it's usually the darker green one. So it's always usually a bit limper as well. And then slice that quite finely. And then run the knife through again, just so it's a bit smaller. I'm going to pop in some bamboo shoots and water chestnuts. Just partly for flavour and also especially the water chestnuts have got a great crunch. I'm just going to blot them on some paper towel just so it's not quite as wet going into the mixture. I'm just going to rough chop these down, but do feel free to cut it into very fine slithers if you prefer. I just don't have the energy for that today. So I'm just going to go through it like this. These are the water chestnuts. So it's hard to describe the texture. They're a bit like a radish, I suppose. A little bit like that. And then same again, just dice them up. I wanted some sweet corn in the mixture as well, but I've only got frozen, and I find frozen can be a little bit bland or, you know, a bit mild in flavour and a bit wet. So I decided to put them in the air fryer and see what happened. And they've come out well. So I just put them in frozen and then roasted them at about 160, about 325 Fahrenheit. For 15 minutes, I think it was. Yeah, and they've gone very much like roasted corn on the cob. Put those in. Could have done with doing a bit more maybe, but that's fine. For a bit of extra crunch in there and some flavour, I'm going to use roasted cashews. So again, these are in the freezer, so I just put them in the air fryer, 160 for about 8-9 minutes, something like that. Just keep an eye on it, shake them every couple of minutes so they don't go too dark. So I'll just break those down a little bit. Got some leftover rice noodles that I've had in the freezer for a while, just like a handful. So I'm going to put those in. I will snip them with scissors though, make them a bit shorter. So just go in, just snip a few times. These are, you know, for a bit of bulk out the mixture a bit, and also a bit of texture. I'm going to pop in some of the gluten-free seitan that I made. I'll stick a link in the description for you. Yeah, I might dice it actually, so I'm just going to go across. Separate those out a little bit just so it doesn't clump together. This is the one made with teff flour and kidney beans, and this is the version I did in the Instant Pot, so it's the one that was slightly denser. I'm going to grate in some fresh ginger, maybe half that, something like that. And to clean it, to take the skin off, just drag the spoon over it. If you can, find a spoon that's got a bit of a sharp edge, if such a thing exists in your cupboards, and then just drag it over. You don't have to take the skin off, but it can be a little bit tough as you're biting on it. I'm going to try it on the microplane. Little goops up on the back. Scrape that in. I'm going to keep the seasoning fairly mild because I'm going to put like a little dipping sauce on the side. So I don't want to have lots of flavour and then, you know, dominate that with more flavours. But I'm going to pop in some crushed chilies, put in about a teaspoon or so, maybe a little bit more. I've just decided I'm going to put in a touch of garlic powder, just a little bit. A little bit of salt and pepper, again just a minimal amount really. That's just going to bring out some of the flavours in the veggies, and then go in with my hands and give everything a good mix together. So I'm just kind of doing that kind of motion just to break up any bits of veggie that have stuck to each other, like that. So just separate it. Setting up some silicone baking sheets on baking trays. ready to receive the dumplings. Normally to soften the rice wrappers, all you do is submerge them in water. In the video, he put cornstarch in the water and that made them go like extra crispy. And I can't remember the ratio, so I'm just gonna have to kind of make it up. This is about 1 centimetre or so of cold water. Ideally, you'd have a bigger dish, but I just don't have anything wider than this because you need it really to kind of submerge the whole thing in. We'll figure something out. And then I'm gonna pop in about 1 tablespoon of the cornstarch, sprinkle it on. Make sure the water is cold, otherwise it's just gonna start activating the starch and it'll go really gummy, which you don't really want yet. So I'm gonna get 1 sheet at a time. So that's what they look like. They've got like a pattern on them. If you've got a deep fat fryer, you can cut these into strips and then put them in the deep fat. And it goes like pork scratchings or prawn crackers as well. Really tasty. I'm gonna submerge it till it's wet and then bring it onto the countertop. So I'm gonna pop it in, and I guess I'm gonna have to kind of swizzle it around a bit just to get everything submerged. Shouldn't need too long. It is softening, but it's still quite crunchy, so I think maybe it does need to be hot water, but you can see, look, it's quite flexible. Yeah, once I've done the first one, then I'll heat the water, I think. So this one's gone soft. So I've got it on, nice and flat on the counter, there's no edges rolled. Grab a handful of mixture. Mine's slightly oval shaped, so I'm going to do the longest sides first. Which are these two? Don't overfill them, otherwise you won't get the wrapper over. I speak from experience. There we go. So it's a nice neat little parcel. If you need to put it down, just make sure the counter's wet underneath and then it won't stick. I'm going to sprinkle on some sesame seeds, I think. I think that's just going to be quite tasty. I'm going to do it on the folded side, just because then they'll peep through when I do it on the other one. So again, smooth it out, seed it side down. Bring the sides in again. To do the last tuck, you can just sort of bring everything together and make it quite tidy. And we've got those kind of entombed in rice paper. It's a bit of a time-consuming job, bit of a labour, but they're going to be delicious despite that, I think. So, you know, as long as you've got some spare time, this looks so pretty. Try and get into a routine where as soon as you take one out of the water, you put another one back in. You should develop a nice little rhythm to it. Going to finish up that bowl, make them all up, turn the camera off and I think put some music on, have a bit of a relax and do it mindfully. And then once I've filled up one tray, I'll preheat the oven to 160 degrees C, about 325 Fahrenheit, and then I'll put 2 trays in at a time. Finished off all of the mixture. It's given me 13 parcels. Hopefully 13 is going to be a lucky number today. You'll notice the wrapper goes quite sticky once you leave it for a little bit. So they're going to hold themselves together really nice and tightly. So there's all of them. I'm going to spray on some oil. I just think that's going to help make it nice and crispy and get some colour on the top, but you can skip this step if you want. So these are the 2 tucked ends, and I did that up for a reason, because I'm going to then flip them upside down and put more oil on, and that will hopefully give quite a sort of nice neat finish, because then the weight of the parcel will keep the ends tucked in and flat. Might not be necessary, but that just kind of felt like the right thing to do. Don't let them touch either, because they will stick to each other very badly. I remember that lesson from doing summer rolls. And you can of course eat them at this stage as well, because that is basically a summer roll now. So it's got that kind of stretchy texture. Set the timer for 10 minutes. No idea how long they're going to take, but I'll have a look after 10. If you've seen the burger video, I'll stick a link in the description. I coated the outside of the burgers with this. It's Kicap Manis, and this is a Malaysian sweet soy sauce. When I was editing that video, I found out that it's originally Indonesian and they call it Kecap with an E. But it's like soy sauce and some sugar and other delicious bits in there. It makes a great glaze. I had thought about putting this on the outside of the dumplings, But because I've not cooked them before, I don't know what to look for in terms of the time, so I didn't want to hide them under anything else in case I then burnt them or undercooked them. But I might do that next time, so I just thought I'd introduce you to that. Show you a quick peek in the oven. So these have had 5 minutes, so I'm just going to do some soy sauce, a bit of Shaoxing rice wine. If you've seen the ribs video, this is what I did in the kind of Asian inspired glaze. Really, really tasty. Few drops of that. You could probably use sherry in place of this. It's not sweet or anything, it's just got that kind of alcohol wine sort of flavour. So yeah, a dash of sherry might do it. And then for a touch of sweetness, I'm going to add in mirin, and it's just got a nice sort of sweet, slightly tangy flavour. There's nothing really that tastes like this, but you could use maple syrup, that would be fine, or agave nectar, that would work also. A little dash of that. And then a little bit of toasted sesame oil. You could use regular sesame, but I just really like the flavour of toasted. It's potent though, so don't use too much. Give that a mix. And you can also put chopped chives in here or some shallots, that kind of thing. Anything you like really. I'm just going to keep this fairly basic. Give that a try. It's 4 simple ingredients, but it's got so much flavour. It's a little bit crunchy in places, but not enough. You can see little air bubbles developing in the wrapper. It might be that they are just better deep fried and they won't go quite as crisp as they would in the deep fat fryer. But I did a Google and saw that you can do gyoza, which is like a Japanese dumpling. You can do those in the oven, so I thought it's worth a try. In terms of oven temperature, you could probably get away with 180 rather than 160. I think that's going to get you there a bit faster. But yeah, I followed the gyoza instructions. Put them on for another 10 minutes, so they will have had 45 in all. I'm just really in 2 minds whether to crank the heat up. I'll be eating these for the rest of the week anyway, and I'll be reheating them in the air fryer, so that's going to make them go crispy again, because they will soften overnight, I imagine. A bit like spring rolls, if you put those in the fridge, like the sort of the brown ones in a tube, like a cigar. They tend to go a bit softer the next day, but then bang them in the air fryer. Yeah, crunchy goodness, heaven. Oh, yum. Yeah, so I'll leave them on the silicone mat, but I'll put them on a cooling rack. And because I sprayed them with oil, things that have cooled down with oil on them, and then when you put them in the air fryer, seem to go really crispy, almost like glass on the outside. So I think they should be okay. They cool down slightly, still a bit hot. The texture, nice and crunchy. So you can see all these lovely little air bubbles that have appeared in the wrapper. I'm gonna have a bite of one naked without any dipping sauce, see what it's like. Now very hot. It's really tasty. There's a nice kick from that bit of chilli that I put in, and lots of different textures, bits of crunch. Right, see if I can dunk that in the sauce without making a total mess. Oh, yes. That dipping sauce just knocks it out of the park. My goodness. Ha! By all means, feel free to put like a sauce in the vegetable mixture if you want, you know, lots and lots of different flavours in there. But I kind of wanted the veg to have their own flavour and then put the dipping sauce with it. But you could slather that, the kecap manis all over it and then mix it together, or a sweet and sour sauce, anything like that. That would work as well, really nice. They do become a little bit difficult to eat because of the shape of them. So now I understand why spring rolls are the shape they are, potentially. I'm not saying that is the reason, but it would kind of stand to reason. Because as soon as you bite one side of it, you then lose the support from the other side. So yeah, potentially do the kind of cigar shape. So basically like a classic summer roll, but then make it crispy. This is a gluten-free recipe, but just double check your wrappers and double check the soy sauce. Potentially avoid soy sauce altogether and use something like coconut aminos or tamari, I think it's called, which I think is the sort of juice that you get when you make miso paste. It's the liquid that gathers on the top. And that's got a very soy sauce kind of vibe to it, because it's just fermented beans. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to have a go at making that gluten-free seitan, why not hit subscribe and tap the bell icon, and I'll stick the link here for you.